Devin Booker is amidst a career-best season in terms of his playmaking in regards to the timing of his passes, the volume of points generated from his passes, and just the cadence at which he's cycling through his decisions on timing and in respect to each different type of coverage in which he's seeing from opponents over the course of this season. So I want to just break down a handful of his assists over the last 7-ish games or so and just kind of provide some context as to why he's making such good reads, why the team is benefiting so greatly from his passes, and why the volume of points generated from his passes is as efficient and effective as it's sustained to be this season. And just to preface before we dive into it, he comes into Saturday after their game against the New Orleans Pelicans, leading the league in three-point field goal assists with 204 this season. And he's also coming into this day leading the league in corner three-point assists with 86 on the season. So let's go ahead and dive into the film. First play, we're going to be watching him just setting up shop. We get Kevin Durant trying to get into wide action, ends up getting rejected naturally because of the pressure applied to him as he navigates off ball. And one of the pressure counters the Suns often get into from that is Spain pick and roll. And with Devin Booker obviously going to his left hand here, just kind of watch the way things play out, and then we'll bring it back a little bit just to go into the details a little more. All right, so you see it results in a corner, wide open corner three for Bol. But how does Bol get this opportunity at that specific time? It all starts with Devin Booker, his processing of coverage on ball, him manipulating the defense, and the timing with which he decides to make this pass. So as he comes off of this screen up top from Nick Richards, you see him engaging Yves Missi as he starts to basically go from trying to play two in the middle to realizing that leverage on the ball has been broken. Devin Booker is getting downhill undeterred. And when I also had tipped Kevin Durant for this screen, because the Pelicans were looking like they were trying to peel switch it, but because Kevin Durant kind of hangs around in the weeds a little bit longer instead of popping right away in the Spain action, him being in that spot to just kind of set a little bit of a brush screen on the fly aids Devin Booker in getting downhill, forces the overreaction from Yves Missi in terms of rotating to the ball in his drop coverage. He is now fully committed at this point to taking away the basketball and on the drive from Devin Booker. And because of that, and because of the advantage creation from Kevin Durant in the middle of all of this, we see Devin Booker astutely read the action that's unveiling underneath the free throw line. And that's a natural 3-on-2 for the Suns. Nick Richards slightly ahead of the ball right now as he crosses the free throw line before Devin Booker does. And that's a credit to Devin Booker's pace, slowing it down just enough to allow for the advantage to create itself. And then he just simply has to make the right decision on the right timing with the right pass, which is exactly what he does here. Missy commits to the ball. Because Nick Richards is now rolling scot-free down the lane, the low man, Kelly Olynyk, has to be 2 feet into the paint, fully committed to taking away the roller, and that naturally leaves Bol wide open for this three. And like I said, the correct pass being made from Devin Booker. If he throws this too early, Kelly Olynyk can kind of start to cheat it and get back to Bol, and the advantage that's ultimately created will not be as fruitful as Devin Booker makes it. He gets 2 feet into the paint and then makes the jump pass as he sees Kelly Olynyk start to commit to tagging the roll. All of that leads to Bol getting this wide open three-point opportunity. Kelly can't recover in time, and Bol knocks down that three. And then here we see him getting a little bit of secondary transition. Nothing really comes of that. And now they're immediately in delay. So you see a prompt cut from the 45 from Bol to clear the space, respace, and allow for the Suns to flow into secondary actions. They're going to get into some delay here, and we're going to watch as Nick Richards catches it up top. I want to just quickly note that they've been flowing into these type of actions with a little bit more frequency over the last 3 to 4 games, particularly for Devin Booker or Bradley Beal. And a lot of times with them sharing time in the starting lineups the last handful of games, it's been both of these two being the recipients and flowing through movement. Here is going to be Devin Booker naturally. And like I said, we see Bol clear cut, respace to give them optimized spacing within the actions that they're flowing into next. And you see Kevin Durant, rather than flowing off of the dribble handoff himself, he elects to go and set this pin down for Devin Booker. And now it's essentially Chicago action, a screen that flows into a handoff. And we're going to be seeing Nick Richards do a good job with the pitch in that, good brush screen from Kevin Durant to create a little bit of separation. And we're going to pay attention to the way that things unveil after the touch from Devin Booker. So you talk about his processing speed. You talk about getting him dynamic touches. You talk about him being able to make passes and make reads. No different when he's going to his left than he does when he's going to his right. We see all of those in one here. Comes off of the dribble handoff from Nick Richards. Sees that Markovic is at the level of the screen, just flat hedging, not truly putting pressure, but flat hedging or in a lateral, if you will, just to keep him from turning the corner. And as you see Hawkins duck under the screen, we got to pay attention to, first of all, Nick Richards and the timing of his role. The personnel who would be the low man in this scenario would be who's attached to Kevin Durant. But because it's Kevin Durant that's in the spot that he's in, that would be the person that's the low man's responsibility to kind of go over to help tag on the roller with Markovic in the lateral like we spoke to. He's going to be in conflict. He has to make a decision. You leave Kevin Durant, the consequence is obvious. And if you don't leave him, now that the Suns have Nick Richards in these positions and they're able to start flowing into them with a better cadence, a better tempo in the half court, the results that they're able to generate from this are highly repeatable. Hawkins, after ducking under the screen, sees that Devin Booker's kind of strung out Markovic, and because of that, he's late trying to get back into the legs, into this veer back switch with Nick Richards. Devin Booker processes all of this in real time with a sharp cadence. And again, because it's Kevin Durant that's in the corner, there's no low help down there to help Hawkins as you see the leverage is already in favor of Nick Richards rolling to the basket. Devin Booker just puts it high, leads him to the basket, almost like a quarterback throwing a wide receiver open before they're actually open. Advantage Suns. And Nick Richards puts that down. And then this next rep was another fun one here. So we're going to see Devin Booker after the shallow cut, essentially from Bol early in the action. A little bit of a brush screen, a little bit of a shallow cut. He just kind of switches positions to stay out of the area that they're trying to clear for Devin Booker to get to. And now that optimizes the spacing in addition to this 45 cut that's going to come from Bol to really give Devin Booker space and optionality with how he wants to attack, potentially open up opportunity on a short roll or in a pocket for Nick Richards, and it just keeps more options for Devin Booker. He can also turn the corner here if he elected to. But as we see Bol respace, you're going to see Devin Booker just do a great job with the read here. And again, prefacing with the respacing from Bol initially on the brush screen and then completely clearing that wing area, giving Devin Booker space to then drag out Yves Missi and threaten his leverage, keeping him engaged while also holding Bruce Brown onto his hip, holding two to the ball, not in terms of a blitz, but in terms of the attention that he's garnering because he's a threat to turn the corner. That now puts, as you see the Suns in their spacing template, really put a strain on the help defense from the Pelicans. That now puts Kelly Olynyk in compromise, as he now is tasked with, one, being in charge of guarding Kevin Durant on this weak side, but two, because the Suns have essentially created a single-side tag, that now forces Kelly Olynyk to also play to his tag responsibilities and taking away this short roll pass in the pocket from Nick Richards. So you see Kelly Olynyk at the nail is in conflict, as you see also Kevin Durant lifting up from a true extended free throw line positioning to now lifting up to the slot area of the court. And you see the pass, you see the timing that Devin Booker syncs up with here to hit Kevin Durant. This is just really, really sharp playmaking, really good feel, really good just intangibles on display from Devin Booker. And he hits Kevin Durant right between the eyes with this pass. And because Kelly Olynyk is in conflict, the timing of Devin Booker's pass, Olynyk is playing on his end steps as he starts to commit to tagging the roller. And that's the timing at which Devin Booker decides to skip it to the opposite 45. Advantage Suns, Devin Booker creates another rotation within the advantage off of the attention that he's garnering on the ball. And now you have Kevin Durant taking wide open catch and shoot three-point opportunities in the middle of the shot clock. And then here was one of my most favorite reps of late with Nick Richards, but also with Devin Booker. And you see those two syncing up naturally here. You see Colin Gillespie coming off a double drag action. No advantages created there. You're going to see Gillespie just pitch it to Nick Richards. And in moments where this would just be a pause and now the shot clock is bleeding with no advantage created, and eventually it's going to get to Devin Booker, but he's going to have to put his superhero cape on. Instead of that and them just not having any flow to their offense, watch how Nick Richards implores for Colin Gillespie to set this pin down in a manner in which we spoke to earlier in this film session with Kevin Durant. Now it's Nick Richards being in charge, understanding the flow, understanding his role, and how to help to create advantages. Implores for Colin Gillespie to set that screen for Devin Booker. And now this looks a whole lot like Chicago action. And because of the screen, the brush screen being set from Colin Gillespie, in addition to the dynamic touch for Devin Booker, while also understanding the coverage that's taking place on ball with Yves Missi, as Devin Booker comes off of the handoff from Nick Richards, you see Hawkins again navigating under the screen. You see the syncing up in terms of timing from Nick Richards on the roll. And you see Devin Booker from the dynamic touch with Yves Missi at the level, being able to threaten his lateral coverage and just threatening his ability to kind of keep leverage here. That all is going to, again, open up the roll. And now I will note here that Jose Alvarado is in the paint right now. But the difference is with Nick Richards rolling downhill and there not being any size to prevent Nick Richards from potentially going up to get it with verticality in terms of the spacing, this is providing a perfect template of why vertical spacing is important. Low help is there, but because it's Nick Richards versus the smallest player on the court, the advantage is in the Suns' favor here. Devin Booker just puts it high, and Nick Richards is able to go finish that. But the last thing I want to pay attention to within all of that, understanding everything that we just kind of processed through with this read from Devin Booker, the no look. Watch as he gets to threatening the leverage of Missi. Watch where his eyes are. He's looking at Nick Richards right now. He's going to give the subtle peek over to Colin Gillespie before bringing his eyes back to Nick Richards on his pass. And you can tell that the look-off had impact because of how it gets a reaction out of Jose Alvarado, who's trying to play cat and mouse in terms of his tag responsibilities. All of that ends up resulting in an advantage for the Suns. Great touch on the lob. It's not a line drive lob. There's a little bit of touch to the pass from Devin Booker, more of a floater than it is a line drive. And he buys time for Nick Richards to gather his feet underneath him to go get the lob and put it down. And then here we see the Suns getting into just some spread pick and roll, essentially. And we're going to see, first of all, the spacing template from the Suns. Them having three players below the break. So three players basically in the corners on two separate sides of the floor, emptying both wings and allowing for Devin Booker to play in as much space as they can possibly create in this pick and roll scenario that is of the spread variation. So you see that, and at the still frame, you already see Tyus Jones, as we've documented over the course of the season, being helped off of, and the advantage that concedes for the Suns if he's knocking down his shots. That's a little bit of a preemptive speak to the result in this rep. Nonetheless, you see Devin Booker coming off of the screen from Nick Richards, and you see the heavy help that's kind of essentially zoning up on Devin Booker to deter him from turning a corner. And this is all by design from Willie Green. In this rep, you can hear him from the sideline screaming heavy, 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 hoping for some heavy help in terms of the gaps and really loading up to try to deter Devin Booker from turning the corner and scoring on his terms. So you see he essentially has three to the ball here. Naturally, CJ McCollum attached to his hip. And then you see Yves Missi in the short drop here, or really honestly up to the level. He's just not touching, but he's above the three-point line. And then the last piece, you obviously see with Trey Murphy III trying to help to shrink the floor on Devin Booker, limit his decisions, give them one decision that they can kind of anticipate. But watch Devin Booker not just concede to that decision that they want him to make, but engaging all three of these defenders as much as he possibly can, getting a reaction out of obviously Trey Murphy III in addition to that, before the pass that he ultimately makes. And you can tell in this rep, even more so than the last one on that lob to Nick Richards, that this is as tried and true of a no-look as you can possibly see. Never does he actually look at Tyus Jones as he respaces to the corner. And all of that helps to create as much of an advantage as possible for him to get that catch and shoot three. Doesn't have to worry about the contest. The pass is on the money with zip, and Tyus Jones knocks down another three. I'm watching too many Bulls games the last couple of days. And then this next rep here, Devin Booker in transition, nothing's there. And I really enjoyed this rep because this is something that the Suns don't get into enough. And that's using their front court pieces as opportunities to connect action on the ball in a quick hitting fashion. So we see them use their front court pieces to connect things, but not necessarily always in the most quick hitting of a fashion to where it creates new advantage. We see that here with Devin Booker. Nothing's going on in this primary transition break that he's looking at. Pitches it to his center, trailing into action. And it's the quick decision for me on this rep that ultimately creates the advantage for the Suns. So he gets the catch back, and watch as you see the Pelicans start to load up, anticipating Devin Booker to use the screen that's typically flowing in rhythm with the Suns' offense. Kind of one of their automatics that they flow into. But watch Devin Booker refuse the screen, reject it, and watch the reaction that he gets out of the defense. As you see Eve Missy, like I talked about, them anticipating Devin Booker using the screen. He's trying to get up to the level. Devin Booker quickly rejects, and now the defense is in compromise. He creates a 2 versus 1, flattening out the defense, and watch the result that comes from it. This is Devin Booker making those passes that I mentioned, whether he's going to his right, his strong hand, or being able to make those same passes to generate the same advantages with the same snappy cadence and processing, even going to his left hand. And you see the way that he flattens out the defense, and the defense ultimately has to rotate because of his rejecting of the screen. And you see the timing of the pass as you see Tyus Jones also astutely shaking up here. All of that just coming in tandem generates a three-point opportunity for the Suns, and Tyus Jones knocks down that three. And then here with the Suns getting into those three-player actions that I spoke to with Nick Richards, this time it's more Miami. It's a dribble handoff that flows into the ball screen. Chicago action is a screen that flows into the handoff. The other variation to that is Miami. Dribble handoff from Bradley Beal is going to then flow into a screen up top, as you can see here, from Nick Richards. But hat tip to Bradley Beal doing a great job with the brush screen. And now watch the advantage that's created from there as the Suns kind of flow into action. So you see he ends up getting the switch there with Zach Edey. He's going to get into a boomerang, pitches it to Bradley Beal as his dribble is terminated just to get it right back, and now he's able to attack the mismatch in space. But another thing I want to pay attention to here, a lot of times when people see these advantages created, they're thinking the advantage has to be executed from on the ball. When oftentimes, because the defense, a good defense at least, is going to be aware of the mismatch that was created, they're going to concede help from somewhere to try to flatten out that advantage that was created, to try to get back into defensive advantage from the advantage that the offense created. And that's important to know here because that means that there's going to have to be some help conceded from somewhere to do that. Sometimes the coaches speak on these things from the sideline. Sometimes it's just the players making defensive decisions on the fly just to kind of flatten out an action and force an opponent to try to work through to a different advantage. So we're going to see here is Jalen Wells after the screen that was set from Bradley Beal, really occupying that nail area, elbow area of the floor. As you see Devin Booker start to work in isolation with Zach Edey late in the shot clock. He's going to stay there. And Devin Booker sees that Jalen Wells is spaced off of or helped off of Bradley Beal as Bradley Beal sinks to the deep corner. So he elects to drive right with Zach Edey, knowing that Bradley Beal is there. And Bradley Beal's been knocking down his threes the last handful of games, especially since going into the starting lineup. Advantage Suns is Devin Booker on the probe. This is not a scoring drive. This is a drive to engage help, i.e. a probe is what I call it. And you see him just engage. You see that extra dribble just to make sure that Wells completely commits to the help. And then he fires it out to Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal's able to catch that, knocks down that three within the advantage late in the shot clock for the Suns. And then this rep here with Devin Booker, a little slot pick and roll with Nick Richards. And watch the way that things just kind of unveil here for him. Again, it's the timing, it's the cadence of the reads and processing from Devin Booker. This one's a little bit more simple in its nature, but as you kind of slow it down, you start to see the beauty in Devin Booker and his quick processing. So you see the slot pick and roll coming with Nick Richards. You see the shake up from the corner to the wing area from Royce O'Neal. The player that's being put in conflict is who's guarding Royce O'Neal right now. So you want to keep a close eye on him as Devin Booker comes off of the screen, and now he's going to start to threaten downhill. You see he has the big engaged because of the screen set from Nick Richards and the hat tip from Nick Richards, again, like we talked about early. With the timing of his slip into the roll, that transition is important because there's gravity that comes with it when it's sharp. Nick Richards gets below the free throw line. The Suns have created yet another single side or isolated tag where there's a 2 versus 1 created, and there's no help the helper scenario to help the tagger. And as the tagger commits to tagging the roller as Devin Booker engages the center, that now leaves Royce O'Neal wide open. And again, as you see the arms extended out onto the tag, is when you see Devin Booker take a peek and start to make this pass. As soon as you see the tagger committing to his role and responsibility and rotation is when he makes that pass. That creates as much of an advantage as he can for Royce O'Neal. Royce gets to the catch, and now because there's an urgency with the closeout, because he's putting a two-way closeout where he has to go to the tag and then try to get out to the shooter, Royce O'Neal's putting his perfect opportunity to be his best self, attacking the closeout. The pump fake, you know what that is. He ends up getting the flyby, and then he's able to take a one-dribble pull-up three, and he's right at home and knocks that down. And then this rep versus the Bulls was another fun one for Devin Booker. This is all Nick Richards, though. So knowing the coverage on ball, you got Nikola Vucevic in a hedge, a flat hedge. He's up at the level of the screen. This is all Nick Richards understanding the coverage on ball. This is the Suns moving the point of the screen to a different location. All of the screens taking place in this film session have been beyond the three-point line and above the break. This one is taking place below the break and at the logo in the mid-range. That shrinks in terms of the spacing. That shrinks the amount of time that a defense has to react and puts the Sun in a point of kind of dictating to the defense. And I like these reps because of that. The Suns don't flow into this enough. This is something that they did a lot with Chris Paul. They would go 2-3 reps a game where they give him a mid-post touch, and then it ends up flowing into pick and roll. It speeds up the reaction for the defense to rotate to try to take away things. And Nick Richards understanding the coverage on ball, you see him slip out of there, and you see Devin Booker also in sync with him, reading the low man, who's Kobe White here, as it's an empty corner pick and roll. So Kobe White spaced off of Grace, or helped off of Grayson Allen in the bottom left corner. Because he's not committed, he's also flat-footed as he gets into the pick and roll. Devin Booker gets a quick beat on that, gives one more peek here, sees that Kobe has not moved, knows that the roller is there, and now it's just a size advantage. This is not a three-point opportunity as the rest of the reps were in this film session, but this just goes to show that Devin Booker is not just anticipating things. He's reading and reacting in real time, and because of that, he's able to so often make the right decision when he makes the right type of pass into the advantage. We see just that here. Nick Richards is able to get a 2+1 dunk over a smaller defender. And then here on this rep, we're going to see Devin Booker on ball. And this is going to be a small variant late in the clock in the first quarter. So you see Grayson Allen flowing in to set the screen, a small screen. You got 3 Suns to the baseline, both of the wings cleared. I want to note Grayson Allen on this rep and highlight his small screening. He's the best small screener on the Suns. He processes the angle flipping best. He creates the most advantage in these scenarios as well, and we see him do just that here. Julian Champagnie knows that Grayson's trying to set this screen for Devin Booker. He doesn't want Devin Booker to get to his right hand, so he stays to the right side to try to flatten out the action that's taking place on ball. So what does Grayson Allen do? He just simply pins Julian Champagnie inside of him, flips the angle to the left side for Devin Booker, and now because of Grayson Allen's quick processing, he's got both Spurs defenders dead to rights. Neither one of these two can navigate this screen. Devin Booker comes off of the screen at the perfect time, and now because of that, there's an advantage downhill. It's 4-on-3. Two Spurs are going to be behind Grayson Allen as Devin Booker comes off of the screen. That's going to force someone to have to commit to the ball. It's going to come from the strong side corner. And because of the nature of the Suns' spacing template here with 3 players to the baseline, you can kind of see a hook into the exit screen set or pin-in screen set from Mason Plumlee. All an advantage for the Suns, ultimately creating a wide-open corner three-point opportunity for Bol Bol. And he knocks that down. And then this last rep here, just a quick, easy one. This one isn't as extravagant as some of the other ones, but this just shows the brilliance of Devin Booker's playmaking and the space that he's kind of ascended into in terms of that. You got Kevin Durant one pass away, and you got Jeremy Sohan just kind of in no man's land. He's not in denial taking away the pass from Kevin Durant. He's also clearly not committed to tagging a roller. This will be a high tag in this scenario. He's not committed to anything. He's just kind of in no man's land, but also flat-footed. And because of the pace on the pass from Devin Booker, watch the advantage he's able to create in getting it to Kevin Durant and the three-point opportunity that's generated.